34 minutes after the hour now. It has been a year since President Biden's failed withdrawal from Afghanistan, and Afghan citizens still begging the U.S. for help under Taliban rule.
Some of those individuals left behind have gone into hiding, terrified about being discovered by the Taliban.
I suffered huge trauma, trying always contact my American supervisors, evacuation agencies, State Department here and there. And the most affected ones are my elder children and my wife.
Nick Palmisciano, an Army veteran and Save Our Allies Vice President, joins us now. Nick, good morning to you. The U.S. left thousands of our Afghan allies behind during the withdrawal, and it sounds like 1 year later, a lot of those people are still in Afghanistan. Where do things stand right now?
Yeah, there absolutely are a ton of people still in Afghanistan. We are still getting messages every day, and it's absolutely heartbreaking. We left people there, and we did not even plan to scale up the number of people from Department of State that were going to help process SIVs, that were going to help get these people to safety. We didn't do anything ahead of time before the withdrawal, and we're not doing enough now. The periods of time that people have to wait just for an interview, 5 months, 6 months, up to a year. Meanwhile, these people are trying to stay away from the Taliban, are in hiding, are trying to sustain themselves with no ability to work. It's incredibly frustrating.
GOP House Foreign Affairs Committee saying, quote, the committee minority also has compiled proof senior Biden administration political appointees repeatedly misled the American public about the situation on the ground in Kabul, issuing wildly Pollyannish statements about progress at the airport and the Taliban's cooperation in carrying out the evacuation. That said, at the point where we are now, are there American allies being killed because we, as Americans, did not get them out in time?
There absolutely are allies that have been killed. We have received WhatsApp messages from people that we had been talking to where all of a sudden, someone from the Taliban received their phone and sent pictures of them no longer with us. It is a terrible situation, and the toll that it takes on all of the volunteers is significant. There is not a day that goes by where people are not begging us with very real problems, and our hands are essentially tied. We have to wait for this Department of State process.
Well, we interviewed a man yesterday who goes by the alias AQ, and he helped the U.S. Army in southern Afghanistan for many years. He actually received a special immigrant visa, but then the State Department went dark on him. He says that he hasn't heard from them in 6 months, so now he's living in hiding, which is just so gut-wrenching. For obvious reasons, you mentioned that the people who are dying, who we have an obligation to save. You also talk about the backlog at the State Department. What needs to change?
Well, we need more people that are processing SIVs, and we also need a place to bring people. I spent, 2 months this year in the Middle East trying to solve some of these problems. And one of the big issues is we can get people out of Afghanistan, but then there's no place to bring them. If they can't go directly to the United States, you essentially shoulder the burden of funding these people for months or even in some cases a year at a time. It's unsustainable for any NGO, so we need government support.
Meantime, more than $7 billion worth of U.S. military supplies and hardware has been seized by the Taliban since U.S. troops left last year. That is an absolutely astounding number, Nick. Where are those weapons now, and what are they being used for?
So I'm not an expert in this, and I can't necessarily speak to what they're being used for. But the same thing that allowed all of those weapons to be taken is the same reason why there were only 36 officers by the State Department sitting in Kabul when I was there that were processing thousands and thousands of SIVs. There just weren't enough people. We did not plan to get people out, and we didn't plan to get equipment out. Hope is not a plan.
Yeah, and that $7 billion number is new. The Department of Defense just released their Inspector General's report and found that the Taliban has everything from howitzers to sniper rifles in their possession. Before we let you go, the U.S. just killed the leader of al-Qaeda, who was living really in a nice apartment in Kabul, which raises a lot of questions about the rise of terrorism in Afghanistan. Do you think U.S. troops will one day be back?
I think it's very hard to say that we're not going to be involved in some form or fashion. In the documentary Send Me that we have coming out August 26th, we talk about how on the ground, Taliban were literally shooting people in the crowd as a method of crowd control. And that's why, while Americans were still on the ground, to think that it's going to be vastly different now that we're gone and the eyes of the world aren't on them is just a bad plan.
And if the Taliban isn't bad enough, hunger is another huge problem over there. It is just a parade of horribles. Nick, thanks so much for elucidating us on it. Sad, but we need to know more. Thank you, Nick.